then it's laymen. It's just citizens that are governing somewhat complicated environments. I don't know if you know much about the water and sewer regulations and sewer lagoons and water treatment facilities. It's complicated. The taxing structure code and how to calculate mills, it's nothing like business. The business community is much different than government. So it is a bit challenging. There's 1,273 distinct local governments in Montana. Okay, now I just mentioned the counties and the municipalities, and on top of that, then we have all these special districts, water districts and sewer districts that serve in these rural areas that provide water and sewer services to rural areas around the state that are not part of a municipality. So it's a very complicated world that exists out there. Thinking about the grassroots of local government, there's really two functions that I see of local government. One is to provide essential services, and the other is to manage conflict. And provide that social aspect of how do we get along together given our diverse backgrounds, experiences, interests. And so that's kind of on that governing the community side, and then the other side is providing the essential services of sewer, water, fixing potholes, mending sidewalks, that type of work. And then the power and authority that's granted to them, and that'll be discussed later, but we'll talk about the structure, the different forms of government that these communities can choose to govern themselves. And it's interesting, since the Constitution, we've had 4 different voter reviews. Did I do that right? 1, 2, 4 different voter reviews. Gosh, I'm great at math. That's why I do what I do, because I'm so good at math. There's 4 different voter reviews will be coming up, and by the way, starting next year, 2013, on the ballot in every local government, county and municipalities, will be the question: should we review our form of government? And then if the people in that jurisdiction say, yes, we feel we want to review that form of government, then they'll need to put on the ballot, people will need to file to be a study commissioner. And then in the fall, they'll elect the study commissioners of 2013. They'll take office in 2014 and begin the process of studying the form of government. Usually, in this cycle again, the local government center hosts a very large convention or meeting or a training for these study commissioners, where we try to bring them all in and we sit them down and spend 2 or 3 days working with them to help them understand the forms of government and the power of local government, so they can be well informed when they go back in their community and then start evaluating what is it the form of government we have, does it work, is there something better, what can we change, and then make that proposal back to the public. And then the electorate at the end of that 2-year study will have a chance to say, yes, we like those changes you're proposing, or no, the status quo is sufficient. So we do this every 10 years. This is very unique to Montana. It's a great way for us to really study what is it that we have and is there something better. If nothing else, it allows the local jurisdiction to evaluate, is what we have working, and if not, we'll change it. If it is, we're keeping it. But it's study. It's not just something we continue moving forward. I think before the Constitutional Convention, as was mentioned, it was a very homogeneous local government structure. Everybody was pretty much the same. And I think there's a lot of push from particularly the urban areas of Montana pushing to have this Constitutional Convention, because they were struggling with trying to meet the demands that they were faced in their jurisdiction with the limited powers that they had. So, study commissions are one way that every 10 years in which we can change our form of government, the structure of our government. There are other ways as well. The people in the interim between the 10 years can say, you know what, something has changed in our community that we want to put this on the ballot. And they can petition to have that on the ballot. Or the local government may say, you know what, there's an opportunity that we cannot quite satisfy with the current structure we have. We need to propose a change to the public. They can then put that on the ballot. Or there's the local review process. So there's also what I call the honeymoon period. That once you do adopt a change in your form of government, you're prevented from going in there and tweaking it the next year. You've got to wait for, I want to say, 2 years before you can make a different proposal. That allows you to go through at least 2 years, 2 cycles of getting settled into, so you don't get the buyer's remorse and then forever at the ballot box trying to change your form of government. What I found interesting when we work with these folks at the study commission is when oftentimes the study commissioners don't quite understand exactly what it is that that they signed up to do. And they'll come to that meeting in Bozeman all fired up. What do they want to do? They want to fire the mayor. I want to get rid of that council member. There's something about the people in those positions we need to get rid of. And when they realize, almost with this, oh no, what have I done? When they realize, oh, I'm studying the structure and form, it has nothing to do with the people in place. It's, do we want to have, from a commission executive, a mayor-council form of government, or would a commission manager form of government be better? And that's what they're really studying. And so it takes a lot of time looking and talking with the different departments and the community and the citizens saying, what would serve us better? So in the 40 years that we've been doing this, how are we doing on time? We're doing fine. I'll have still plenty of time. I tell you, get me talking about this, I'm going to get all wound up and sweating. I don't know where I was at now. So if you think about what drives change in these study commissions, or what drives change in local government, is there's external pressures that are placed on them. So I think about the city of Laurel and East Laurel, Billings. So city of Laurel has a lot of pressure placed on them because of East Laurel and its sprawl, as it's putting pressure onto that small community. And they've placed on their ballot, we want to change to a commission manager form of government. Because our local government that we have now, of a commission and mayor council form of local citizens, just doesn't have the professional capacity, shall I say, when you've got Walmart coming to your community wanting to set up a store, you really need to have someone negotiating that contract, not that there's anything wrong with this, but maybe as a carpet layer by day and then the mayor by evening. You want to have a professional in there that can really figures out, have studied and are prepared to enter that type of conversation or dialogue with Walmart, so to speak. So they placed that. We want to go with commission manager form of government, and the citizens said no. We still like the accountability of having a mayor that we can hold accountable and a commission that we can hold accountable. We don't want to change to a commission manager, more professional type of a structure. However, the legislature has allowed, and this is the other part of this, and why I'll get to in a minute, why we haven't seen sweeping changes, is I think there's enough release valves that when the pressure builds up, some of it can be dealt with as structural change in local government. But some of it you have written into the law and the code that you can say, oh, we can hire a chief administrative officer to provide that function, that professional function for us. So we still have that same structure of government, but we have a professional there that will work at the pleasure of the council to perform those professional services and duties. But I think that's the other part of this as well, as with the structure and the options that we have, many of the challenges that local governments face may not be solved by a change in structure, but they find interlocal agreement opportunities, where the county and the city might enter into an interlocal agreement. Most of our municipalities, these small municipalities, cannot afford to have a police force. And so they'll contract, they say contract, I say interlocal agreement, because it's legally what it should be, is an interlocal agreement with the county sheriff department, to provide those public safety services. And there's many communities now along the High Line. I was at a meeting earlier facilitating a conversation between 3 counties, 6 municipalities, and an Indian reservation, looking at should they form an interlocal agreement and operate an equipment pool, where instead of each municipality having to buy a road grader, why don't we buy one nice road grader and we share it amongst us, or a sewer jetter truck, or some other piece of equipment that they can share it amongst them. It seemed to be so it seems like that wouldn't be something that the structure of government would address, but there's opportunities for them to collaborate together. Instead of creating one large local government along the High Line, they found other ways to solve their problems. So a quick overview of the study commission so far. It seems that the West The western part of the state had a larger percentage of those jurisdictions have said, yes, we want to have a study commission, compared to the east. And the changes that were proposed and implemented, approved by the voters, a greater majority in the west than the east. Our interpretation of that is that there's greater changes taking place on the western side of the state over the last 40 years. The growth and the changes that are happening there has required those communities to shift their structure to accommodate the challenges they're facing. Whereas eastern Montana, that's not so much the case. And I like the fact that we have this opportunity where the local governments can at any point change their structure. For instance, think about our good friends up in Sidney, Montana, and the changes that have been fallen upon them. And right now, I think they're probably holding out for that study commission. That poor Brett Smelzer's up there trying to deal with this. He's the mayor of Sidney, and he's trying to live his life and has a job. He's trying to support his family, but also having to deal with this crushing oil expansion, oil boom there. That's impacting their sewer, their water, their streets. The public safety issues are huge that are falling on that man. And so I'm sure, as a community of only 2,600 people, they're probably seriously thinking about, is it time for us to make the change to go to a commission manager form of government? Having someone that's a professional there that's qualified, hopefully a graduate from either of the schools that has that capacity to really manage the complexity. About wrap it up? All right, I'm going to wrap it up here. Okay, I just want to just briefly mention, in the 40 years of these, of the 4 different sessions, the local government review processes, of the municipalities, of the proposed changes, only 37% of those changes were approved by the voters, of all that were presented to the voters. And on the county side, it's even less, 17% of the changes proposed by the voters were accepted. It seems in Montana we really like our county government the way it is, and our municipalities are finding a much more opportunity to change and morph to meet the needs. We find that municipalities are adopting more of a nonpartisan elections. When it's put on the ballot, it usually passes, where on the counties when it's put on the ballot, it doesn't pass. They like the partisan ballots, and I don't know why. I guess in conclusion, I think that was a very forward-thinking, hasn't made the changes that the delegation was anticipating, a complete renaissance. I'm not sure what the expectation was that every year we'd be making some sort of a change, but I think it's a release valve where there is a need for change. We have a structure and a process where, in an orderly way, communities can make those changes that are necessary. We've had some make changes, and then 10 years later have changed back. And I think that's a lot of flexibility that's provided for these local governments that I think is very much appreciated. So thank you for your time.
Well, I too want to thank the Humanities Montana and Ken for asking me to be part of this panel discussion today. Truth to tell, I think my wife, who is sitting over in the corner here, had something to do with asking Ken to do that.